Hey everyone, my guest today is Justin Pogue. Justin is the founder of Rental Secrets, an author, and a real estate consultant based in Dallas, Texas. His services are sought after by property management companies, investors, and real estate consulting companies alike. Fox News, CNBC, The Mercury News, Realtor.com, and ApartmentTherapy.com have all featured his insights for the benefit of their audiences. He got his start in real estate by purchasing properties on the lands available list in the state of Florida. Since 2003, he developed and managed apartments and rental homes across the United States. Justin holds a degree in economics from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, as well as an MBA from the Darden School at the University of Virginia. Welcome to the show, Justin. I want to thank you for being here today. And I was wondering if you could tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you're working on right now.
Hi, Samantha. It's great
Hi.
to be here. So I actually have a really kind of interesting background. So I've been in property management and property development for 20 years, which
Oh,
wasn't my original plan. Um,
yeah,
I graduated into the dot-com bubble bursting, and my plan was to do management consulting, which was probably the worst time to try and get into that industry.
yeah,
Um, but my mother, who had been in real estate back in the 80s, she was interested in starting to invest. And at one point, she just suggested, well, let's just go look at a property. And then that
yeah.
turned into a 20-year career. um, and it's covered garden style walkable apartments. It's covered student housing, and it's been in various parts of the country.
Mhm.
So as far as investing, my mother and I went from 0 to 72 units over a course of 6 years, and then the 2008 Great Recession happened.
Yeah,
And then our strategy changed radically. Um, but we still continued investing, and then after I stopped managing those, I took a position with a property management company in the San Francisco Bay Area, about a mile from Google, managing
okay,
about 215 apartments in that area.
wow. That I feel like there's gotta be some stress involved with that. I just
Yeah, it's one of those industries where it's very relationship focused. You have to be able to deal with other people well, and
Yeah,
sometimes dealing with them when they're not at their best.
right.
Because people move for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah.
I actually remember one woman, she came into my office looking for an apartment,
Uh-huh.
and the reason she was moving was because she was a victim of a rental scam.
Oh, no.
So she had gone to it was a trailer community.
Mhm.
She met someone on site. They had keys to the trailer. They showed her the unit.
Yeah,
They presented her with an application. She
yeah,
gave them a security deposit, and she had moved into the apartment or into the trailer. And then
yeah.
one day she's standing at her sink washing dishes, and she's looking out the window, and she sees two people she's never seen before. It's
Oh.
the property manager and the property owner that are coming to look at the unit because that unit had been slated for renovation.
Oh my gosh.
And so they had this conversation, and
Yeah,
they didn't expect her to be in the apartment in the rental either.
yeah.
So she ended up needing to move out. It turns out the person who rented it to her was the maintenance person and that's why they had keys. And she had paid them a security deposit. She had paid them 4 months worth of rent.
Uh-huh.
And now she's looking for another place. So she was not in the best state of mind when she was coming to my office.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrible. Are you out of the Dallas area now?
Yeah, I live in Dallas now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I lived down in Austin for a while. I'm in Iowa now, but when I was living in Austin, I was trying to find some place more affordable and out of the city. This was like 2013 to 2015.
Hmm.
And all these scams, they had to have been scams. There are a bunch of ads for like rent to own your own home, and the monthly payments were way too affordable. And I never did it, but I feel like they almost ask for your social security number before even meeting you. And so I'm like, okay, so do these properties even exist or is it entirely fake?
there are there are elements of truth, and that's what
Okay.
makes it hard to tell.
Yeah.
So yes, there is a group of investors that are trying to create rent to own rental situations
Mhm.
for people, so ultimately they can transition into ownership, because that feeds into the American dream, and
Right.
people being able to increase their wealth and financial net worth over time.
Yeah.
So that is an industry, that is a real thing. But the rents for in that situation are typically going to be market rents or even slightly higher, because part of your rent payment is going toward equity.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah.
so there's an element of truth in there.
Yeah.
The other way elements of truth work into these rental scam situations is the fraudsters will take a legitimate ad. Someone will post a
Mhm.
legitimate ad for their rental, and they'll put up pictures, and they'll
Mhm.
put contact information, either email or phone number.
Yeah.
What scammers will do is they will copy the ad,
Okay.
and then they will change the phone number or the email
Yeah.
address, so that that traffic comes to them and not to the legitimate property manager or landlord.
Yeah.
Um, so one easy way to kind of check that is on Google provides this opportunity to do what's called a
Mhm.
reverse image search.
Okay.
So you can take that image and search for it on the internet and see if that image shows up in any other ads. And
Yeah.
that way you can tell, that's one way to tell that a scam might be happening.
Right. Yeah, that
Because
makes
the same
sense.
picture should not show up in multiple ads.
Right. Yeah.
Um, Another interesting thing is that there's a there's a specific order of operations
Mhm.
to renting. Things should happen in a specific order.
Okay.
So when the person you're working with starts asking for things out of order,
Mhm.
that's an indication that there may be a scam. So, for example, if you haven't seen the apartment yet, but they're asking for a security deposit, or they're asking for a
Yeah.
fee to see the apartment, those are indications that there might be a problem.
Yeah. Okay.
Other indications are that the conversation is becoming a very like high pressure sales situation, where they want you to make a decision immediately
Right.
right now.
Right.
Um, that's another indication that there may be a problem, that this person is trying to scam you, because honestly, housing is a big deal for everyone.
Mhm.
It's a decision that should be given a certain amount of legitimate time to
Right.
make the decision to move, because you're talking about your life.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so when the undue pressure is added,
Mhm.
it may be an indication that there's a scam going on. Now, that being said, the housing market does move quickly. There are a lot of people looking, especially during the spring and summer months.
Mhm.
Um, so some of that pressure may be genuine and market driven. But
Right.
if you but you're making a large commitment, and if you feel overly pressured,
Yeah.
then that may be an indication that something is off.
Yeah. That makes sense. It's making me think of buying a car too. Like, next time I get a car, I'll be there on Sundays checking out what I want first, and then I'll go in. They're not gonna get me to get something better.
Yeah, just avoid the racing stripes.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting analogy, um, in a couple of ways. So, because like I just mentioned, the racing stripes.
Mhm.
The basic purpose of a car is to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Racing stripes have nothing to do with that. And similarly with a rental property, it's meant to provide a roof over your head.
Mhm.
But companies provide amenities like swimming pools and gyms and laundry rooms and other things,
Yeah.
some of which you need, some of which you don't.
Right.
So we'll
Yeah.
take the swimming pool as an example. So when you look online at an apartment complex, you'll see pictures of the apartment complex,
Yeah.
and the swimming pool will be prominently featured.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
and when I rent to people, they all ooh and ah over swimming pool, and it looks so nice and all of that.
Uh-huh.
But I noticed that on most weekends, there's not competition for the swimming pool. Like,
Okay.
it goes unused very often.
Really?
So it's the idea of the swimming pool is great,
Yeah.
but actually getting down there and using it is a whole different matter. And
Yeah.
where it comes into the money part of it is whether you use a swimming pool or not, guess what? You're paying for it.
Right. Right.
Um, so that's one aspect of like you just like the racing stripes. You get the racing stripes, you're paying for it, but it's not really affecting how you
Yeah.
use the actual product.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good example. I had an apartment in Austin that had a pool, but then,
Uh-huh.
like, I really should have looked at the hours too, but, um, you know, online, it shows that the pool is, like, right outside your apartment window
Mhm.
almost, and then it's like,
Of
"Oh, I
course.
actually have to walk a ways to get there, and there might be a bunch of kids in it,"
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one
Yeah.
thing that I didn't really use
Yeah.
personally, but
Yeah, and when
yeah.
people go on tours of apartment buildings, usually they come during the middle of the business day when the
Yeah,
property leasing office is open and all of
yeah,
that, but you don't only live your life in the middle of the business day. Like,
yeah.
you should actually come back and tour the properties on the weekends and on at night. Um, the leasing person won't be there, but the people who
Right.
actually will be your future neighbors,
Yeah.
will be. So you'll get to see how many kids are gonna be in the swimming pool. And you'll get to see if that street parking is really available, at 9
Oh,
PM on Saturday night.
yeah.
Um, and most people don't see that part until after they move in, after
Yeah,
they've signed the lease. Um,
yeah.
but coming back on the weekend or in the evening gives you another interesting opportunity too, to talk to your future neighbors before you sign the
Mhm.
lease. They've already had the experience you're about to sign on for,
Yeah,
and they have
yeah,
no financial stake in whether you rent there or not.
yeah.
So they'll typically give you their unvarnished opinion of, is the property management company easy to deal with? Do they actually repair things when they say they're
Mhm.
going to? Um, do they deal with problems on the site outside of maintenance?
Yeah,
Problems with potential other neighbors or whatever might be going on. Um,
yeah,
they'll tell you. They
yeah.
don't hold back.
Oh, yeah. Yes. And, I mean, just managing maintenance alone, I can't even imagine. I I work at a job, where it bas I'm a water operator, and,
Mhm,
after hours, people will call if their water's been turned off or if there's something wrong with their water meter, but we don't service, mobile homes
mhm.
or trailer parks because 'cause they're, private property, and some of
Okay.
those people, I think they just called a vent because they know I can't do anything for them, um, but, it's like, well, you've gotta call your manager, you've gotta call
Mhm,
maintenance, and and,
mhm,
I I, that in itself just when you've got a lot of problems at once has gotta be so difficult to manage.
mhm. That's part of the reason why I wrote my book,
Uh-huh.
is because that relationship between renter and landlord is so important. Like, they're calling you because they probably either can't get a hold of their landlord,
Mhm.
or the person rent in the his trailer person renting them their trailer lot,
Yeah.
or they've had negative experience with that person in the past and they really don't want to have to call them. Um,
Yeah.
but that relationship is so important because renters need a place to live. They're not gonna put hammer to nail and build a
Right.
house or a building for them to move into.
Right.
That's what the landlords are doing. But also, most landlords or most real estate investors, they're investing for their retirement.
Mhm.
So when you think
Yeah.
about it, the people they rent to are literally living in their retirement plan.
Right. Right.
So you need to have a good relationship with that person for a
Mhm.
whole host of reasons. And there's all kinds of crazy renter stories when that relationship goes awry and you
Yeah.
end up with, somebody's poured concrete in your toilet, or
Oh god.
they've removed the copper wiring from there's all kinds of crazy stories.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
but in most cases, if that relationship is good, you can mitigate a lot of those negative
Yeah.
situations. Um, Even just things as simple as renters who like pay attention to what's going on around your building, and are there people hanging around who shouldn't be
Oh, yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Um, those kinds of things.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of issues that landlords could resolve just having a positive relationship with the people that they're renting to.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, so what sources of information do people often overlook when renting an apartment? I guess we kinda talked about a lot of those already. Is there anything else that you think?
There's a couple of things that people overlook that we haven't touched on yet.
Mhm.
And one of them is kind of a mental mindset kind of thing, and the other is kind of industry marketing.
Yeah.
So when you call an apartment building, they're going to ask you a series of questions. Are you interested in one or two bedroom apartment? Would you like it to be on the first or second floor? Would you like it to be near the pool or near the courtyard?
Mhm.
Would you like it to be near the laundry room? So they're going to ask you a series of questions.
Okay.
What's happening? And from your perspective, from the average person's perspective, it's like, great, they're helping me figure out what I want.
Yeah.
But from another perspective, the leasing agent, as you answer those questions, they're crossing vacant apartments off the list of what to tell you about.
Okay.
And then at the end of that conversation, they're like, great, we have one apartment available that fits your needs. What time can you get here?
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like, oh, wow, they only have one apartment. Let me get down there as soon as possible so I can move, or somebody else snatches it up.
Right.
That might be true. It might not be. I mean, it's
Mhm.
true that they only have one apartment that fits your needs. It's not necessarily true that they only have one apartment. And there's
Right.
a big difference between the two.
Yeah.
So if there actually is more than one apartment, you, in your mind, you've instituted this sense of urgency and
Mhm.
scarcity. And that puts you in a position to never negotiate because there's only one.
Right.
And that's from the initial conversation, and that's happening under the surface. And most people never even recognize that that's what
Yeah.
happened. And it's not that they're, and so in the US, there's these things called fair housing laws.
Mhm.
So they cannot actively steer you towards an apartment. You can
Okay.
steer yourself. And that's what you're doing when you answer those questions in the way that they're presenting them.
Gotcha.
So to kind of get out of that, it's important to ask broad questions. What vacancies do you have available, and how many of them are there? So if there really are 10 available, you can know that before going in. So you're like, oh, okay. So this one
Right.
might be the perfect one for me, but there are others available. So I don't have to be quite as much of a hurry to get
Yeah.
down there as I
Yeah.
thought I did. The
Yeah.
other piece, the marketing piece, is there's this great phrase in the industry and it goes like this: our rents are competitive with the market.
Yeah, I was wondering about this.
Yeah, and it sounds so great. It sounds like we've done we've done all the research. Everything is handled. You can't get a better deal. This is the best deal you could possibly get. It's not what it means at all.
Well, yeah, that's what I don't I guess I take it as, okay, your prices are the same as everybody else's. Is that a correct way of looking at it?
It's not,
Okay.
because their view of what they call the marketplace
Mhm.
is different than your view of what you call the marketplace.
Right.
So what they do is they pull out a map, they put a pin where their property is located,
Uh-huh.
and then they draw a circle about a mile out from their
Okay.
property. And then they say, well, who are the properties in this circle that we think are competing with us?
Okay.
Okay, they choose those properties. They're leaving out single family rental situations. They're leaving out other apartment communities that they don't consider to be their competition,
Right.
for whatever reasons that they've decided. Um, so there's a lot that's left out, even just within that circle.
Mhm.
But when you come to look at when you're touring an apartment, you chose to tour that apartment because it's a half hour, say, west of your job.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole bunch of apartments that are a half hour east of your job that are just as close to your job that you would consider that are part of your definition of what your market is. They
Mhm.
don't consider that at all.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
not even looking at that.
Yeah.
And part of it is not their fault. They don't know who you are. They don't know where your job
Right.
is. And what they're
Right.
looking at is this marketing kind of avatar with 2.5 kids and 1.5 cars. I
Mhm.
mean, honestly, that person doesn't really exist,
Right.
which is another part of the problem. Um,
Yeah.
so this is their perspective,
Mhm.
them and their marketing team and their lawyers and whoever. This is their perspective on the market. It has nothing to do with you.
Right.
And that's why the phrase doesn't really mean what people think it means,
Right.
because their definitions of the words in that phrase are different. They define
Yeah.
competition differently, they define market differently. And that's why
Yeah.
it doesn't mean what people think it means.
Yeah. That makes sense. And this kind of leads into another question I had, or like, what are strategies specific to any geographic location? Because I assume it's very, or I know it's very different depending on where you go.
Mhm. And I think this is one of the really interesting parts of my book, Rental Secrets, is that the strategies that I present in there for people to negotiate their rent and actually lower their rent
Mhm.
have nothing to do with geography. Because when you think about it, you look across the US, there's 5,000 plus counties. They're all different jurisdictions. The laws are different across states and counties and all of that. So I didn't touch
Yeah.
any of that. What I'm looking at is what is the fundamental nature of the landlord business?
Okay.
What are the problems and challenges that they're dealing with?
Mhm.
And how can renters help solve those problems and challenges and use that as negotiation leverage for lower rent or access to different amenities or better parking spaces or however you want to use it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but there is leverage that renters have that they don't know that they have. So that's why I wrote the book that way. And so geography plays less of a role um, in
Okay.
these different tactics. So we've already kind of touched on some of the on a few of the tactics. Like
Mhm.
one is the this whole concept of what is the market, what is competition, and having a good sense of what actual rental opportunities are out there in the
Okay.
marketplaces that you would rent.
Mhm.
Okay, regardless of their distance from this particular community that you're talking to right now.
Okay.
Come in armed with that information, um, because competition is one of the problems that the landlord is dealing with. When you, for example, if you have an older building and there's a newly constructed building going on nearby or even
Yeah.
across town, like that's competition for the older building. They don't have
Yeah.
as many amenities, the finishes aren't as nice. Um, Oh, they may not have as many, outlets in the kitchen or
Yeah.
bathroom, that's a big one. Um,
Yeah.
so they're at a disadvantage,
Mhm.
so that factors into the negotiations. So you can have these conversations where, you know, "I really like your apartment community, but it's missing certain things that I can get elsewhere.
Yeah.
How can we compensate for that with price?"
Okay.
Um So that's the kind of conversation you're having. And what most people the conversation that most people have when they talk about the rental price is they come in and they start making emotional appeals,
Okay.
which
Yeah.
which do have a place because this is a relationship business and because of that emotion plays a role.
Mhm.
But what we're talking about are strategies that even the hardest nosed, most financial focused, spreadsheet guy,
Yeah.
they still have to take that into account.
Yeah.
They still have to respond to these issues because these competition is a problem that they face.
Mhm.
And the basic nature of and getting back to our car analogy, this is one place where the
Yeah.
analogy breaks down
Okay.
because as a landlord, I'm renting time. My product is time and space.
Mhm.
If I don't have the time element, then I have a problem. So if an apartment is vacant,
Uh-huh.
meaning nobody is using it during that time, I don't get any revenue.
Right. Right.
But what's worse is I can't get that revenue back. And this is
Right.
why I say the car analogy starts to break down because if I don't sell a car today, I still have the same car to sell tomorrow.
Yep.
Landlords don't have that.
Yeah.
So no, there's no one on the planet that will ever rent the use of space from last week.
Right.
It won't
Right.
happen. The sentence doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Um, so that creates this bias towards action. That creates and that's why this competition is even more important for landlords than it is for the car sale situation.
Mhm.
Um, and that drives a lot of the issues that landlords face, a lot of the problems that they have. Um, so now that you kind of have a feeling of that vacancy thing, now when we're sitting across from someone and we're negotiating,
Uh-huh.
you don't make any money until I sign on the dotted line.
Right. Right.
And if we don't come to a deal, I may not sign on the dotted line. I may walk out and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that comes into play for, when you go in to actually rent the apartment, it also comes into play for renewals.
Mhm.
And with renewal, arguably the landlord has even more to lose.
Yeah.
Not only have I been a tenant for a year or two, so you know how I operate. I'm a known quantity. You've
Mhm.
gotten your rent on time. I've gotten along with my neighbors.
Yeah.
I know how I know how to put my trash in the dumpster as opposed to around the dumpster.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all of these things, I'm a known quantity.
Mhm.
And when the landlord tries to raise the rent, you want me to you want to meet you and you want me to pay more.
Right.
I may not want to pay that amount. So,
Yeah.
but I'm in charge of whether this apartment stays occupied or not. That's my
Yeah.
decision. So I'm in charge of whether you have to roll the dice on somebody new. I'm in
Right.
charge of whether you're going to have to spend money on cleaning the apartment, making whatever repairs to get this market ready, the marketing cost that's involved for you to find a new tenant,
Uh-huh.
um, and the vacancy costs that you're going to have while you do all of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, um, Kim Kiyosaki, Robert Kiyosaki's wife, and he
Okay.
wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. She tells this story about how she's renting this duplex and she wants to raise the rent $25.
Mhm.
She goes ahead and sends out the letters to the tenants. One of them decides to move out. It's a full 6 months before she finds another person. So she's lost rent
Yeah.
for 6 months over $25.
Mhm.
Now that's not to say that it's always going to be 6 months. It may be a month, it may be 3 months, and
Right.
it's seldom going to be shorter than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's what the landlord is weighing. Like, do I want to roll the dice on a new person and all of these costs,
Mhm.
or do I want to make a deal on the renewal rate?
Right.
Um, so this is the kind of strategic thinking that renters need to be doing in order to get savings on either renewing their apartment or renting an apartment. And
Mhm.
it's a power that most people don't think they have. Most people think they're at the mercy of the landlord,
Right.
and part of that comes from this consumer mentality that we have. Like you walk
Uh-huh.
into a store, there's a price on the shelf. You pay the price on the shelf when you get to the cashier. Like,
Right.
nobody's haggling with the cashier over the
Right.
price for shampoo.
Yeah.
But if you ever go to like a flea market or a
Mhm.
farmer's market, you'll see these these elderly lady, typically they're women, typically they're grandmothers. They are
Yeah.
negotiating every string bean that goes into their bag.
Yeah.
So this concept of negotiation is kind of a it's kind of this it's kind of become this old world thing that a lot of people don't
Mhm.
do. But it really is important because okay, we're in this capitalist system,
Mhm.
and the market is going to provide products and
Yeah.
prices based on the signals that it receives.
Yeah.
Part of those signals is what is the consumer doing? What is the end user, the person who buys this stuff? What are they doing? What are they asking for?
Mhm.
What pressures and demands are they putting on this system?
Yeah.
And negotiation is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases we're losing that. Um, and there's another interesting element too. So it's like when we're looking for a pencil, for instance,
Uh-huh.
as consumers, we're taught we need the pencil that has organic rubber and virgin wood and this and the perfect graphite and this.
Mhm.
No, no, no. You need a pencil.
Yeah.
It's basic. It's simple. It doesn't have to be the creme de la creme of pencils.
Yeah.
The organic rubber erases just the same as the non-organic rubber. Um,
Yeah.
so, and as this applies to housing, is what do you specifically need? What are needs versus wants? Like
Mhm.
we talked about swimming pool earlier. For most people, a swimming pool is a want. It's not a
Right.
need.
Right.
And it's not even a very tightly held want
Yeah.
because people don't use it.
Yeah.
But kind of as we pointed out, whether you use it or not, you're paying for it. Um, and there's another kind of interesting quirk of the rental market in that
Mhm.
there's this concept of amenity-based pricing. And it's not just, and part of it is the more amenities you have, swimming pool, gym, sauna,
Yeah.
dog park, whatever, the higher the prices are going to be. And
Mhm.
that most people get that.
Right.
But what people don't get is the closer your apartment is to the amenities on site, the more you pay.
Right.
So if you're on
Right.
the side of the community with the swimming pool and you're on the second floor, you're going to pay more
Mhm.
than somebody who's on the first floor on the other side of the community.
Makes sense.
So you and not only are you paying for the swimming pool, regardless of where you are in the community,
Mhm.
you might be paying to be next to a swimming pool that you don't even use.
Yeah.
Um, and it also comes into play with like things like the laundry room. Because you're closer to the laundry room, it'll take you less time to get down to the laundry room to use it, blah,
Mhm.
blah, blah. But um, for savings of 20 or $30 a month, I'll get a laundry basket with wheels and I'll walk to the laundry
Yeah.
room.
Right.
These are the ways that people don't think about what's
Yeah.
going on, because they haven't been behind the scenes. They don't know how the pricing works. They don't know what the incentives of the landlord and property manager are because they've never
Mhm.
been in that situation.
Right. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to tell you about my sponsors real quick. Sometimes I get on a roll cleaning or gardening, and I need a boost but don't have time for a meal. Big Fork Brand's pork jerky is the perfect choice to keep my momentum, offering high protein snacks for on the go energy boosts. Not only do they offer pork jerky, but they also make pork sticks, bacon sausage, bacon hot dogs, and burger and hot dog sauces. Products come in a variety of delicious flavors, including Thai green curry and maple and brown sugar for the meat options, and gangster and Chicago fire for the sauces. I personally think the original flavor of the pork jerky hits just right after tackling a big chore. It's a little salty and very flavorful. My discount code gives you 20% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit bigforkbrands.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Are you looking for a gift for a music lover, or maybe some apparel to show off your quirky side? Old Glory has you covered. With over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture, you're guaranteed to find the perfect item. They even have seasonal gear. My husband enjoys the Beatles and Led Zeppelin apparel, and I love the Billy Idol apparel. I even found items for my fellow plant enthusiasts. This family-owned superstore is known for their quality and customer service, offers free standard shipping on all orders, and orders are shipped the same day you purchase. My discount code gives you 15% off your entire order, and it's currently the best deal available. Just visit oldglory.com and enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. Looking for a game-changing way to improve your health? Zevo Life is the world's most nutrient-dense whole plant, packed with over 50% plant protein, essential amino acids, fiber, and antioxidants. Harnessing the best nature has to offer, Zevo Life nourishes your body while driving your performance, vitality, and overall well-being. Each serving is a concentrated source of clean, well-balanced nutrition designed to support modern lifestyles, and just 1 teaspoon a day supports your gut, boosts energy, and promotes healthier skin and hair. It's no wonder that it's receiving rave 5-star reviews. Step into a healthier future with a 30% discount and a 30-day risk-free guarantee by visiting zivo.life and using my promo code. To support my show and to receive 30% off your entire order, enter in my promo code JADE, that's JADE, at checkout. What policies do keep housing prices so high? Like as you were talking about this, I had heard that housing prices in Austin went down because they have too many vacancies now. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a couple of things that are going on.
Okay.
So there's some things that are going on that have been underlying for decades. And there's some things that are very specific to the period that we just went through, like the COVID period and all of that.
Yeah.
So the longer term thing is most of the land that's zoned for residential housing
Okay.
is zoned for single family housing. And
Okay.
that fits into this concept of the American dream and white picket fences and backyards and garages and,
Hmm.
all of that. But that is the number one most expensive type of housing, hands down,
Okay.
period. Because all of the land under that single family house is for one household.
Yeah.
Whereas if you build a fourplex or an eightplex on the same piece of land, the cost of that land is divided over 4 or 8 families. Okay.
Okay.
And we see this in real time. Like there's no single family houses in Manhattan. Like it doesn't
Right.
exist
Right.
because it would be way too expensive for anybody to afford. It doesn't fit the market dynamic anymore.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
300 years ago it did.
Right.
So by not allowing for that density, the cost of housing is driven up. In addition, there's a lot of regulations that drive up the cost of housing. Now, some of those are
Okay.
good.
Okay.
I like the fact that there are building codes. I like the
Yeah.
fact that there's thought into the longevity of the building, and the building should actually function and work for people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
However, there are also regulations that are kind of onerous and hold developers back from building more units.
Hmm.
A really good example of this is in California. They have this law called CEQA, which
Okay.
basically allows anyone to lodge an environmental complaint about a development at any time from basically the time they get the permit all the way through to the time they get their occupancy certificate
Okay.
at any point in that time. That's not to say that environmental concerns are not important, but if that policy was limited to, okay, they've gotten their building permit, you have 8 months within which to
Hmm.
lodge your environmental issue, whatever it is. If you don't lodge it within that 8-month period, then you can't lodge it after that. You have a window, voice your complaint, we'll deal with it, and then we'll be able to move on.
Okay.
But to have it so open-ended all the way until, so from a
Yeah.
developer standpoint, I may have gotten the rights to the land. put money into all of these studies, put money into starting foundation, starting construction, and the day before I get my occupancy permit, somebody says, "Oh, wait, I want to lodge this complaint."
Mhm. Oh,
I've
man.
spent 99% of the cost of construction, and
Yeah.
now you have something to say? Where were you 10 months ago?
Right.
Um, so it's things like that that drive up the cost of housing.
Okay.
Um, and also, paradoxically, rent control also drives up the cost of housing.
Okay.
Because people forget that in order to have housing, somebody must invest in it.
Okay.
Okay. As an investor, I could buy gold, I could buy stocks, I could invest in a company, I could buy foreign stocks. I mean, I could buy bonds. There are options in terms of what I choose to invest in.
Yeah.
So part of the reason I choose to invest in housing is that there's a certain return that I get. Rent control can limit that return so
Okay.
much that I don't choose to invest in housing anymore.
Right.
And if and which goes into supply issues and all of that. Okay.
Okay.
So
Right.
these are kind of the
Yeah.
conversations that are underlying that we've been having for decades. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we get to the most recent COVID situation where rents
Mhm.
went up crazy high.
Yeah.
Um, so you have all of those underlying things still going on. And then the COVID situation happens. Well, the construction workers are being paid to stay home.
Right.
So
Yeah.
no construction is happening,
Yeah.
but we still have people are graduating from school, people,
Mhm.
parents are still trying to get into good school districts. Like this stuff is
Yeah.
still going on.
Yeah.
On top of that, you have anywhere from 10 to 15, depending on depending on which source you're looking at,
Mhm.
million people who were invited into the country.
Yeah.
Regardless of your politics on that,
Right.
that doesn't matter.
Right.
The supply and demand of housing is drastically affected
Yeah.
when you import 10 to 15 million people.
Yeah.
And just to kind of put some perspective on it, so each year there's about 4 to 5 million people who graduate from college. Okay.
Okay.
These are new people who are looking for housing,
Yep.
create households,
Yep.
all of that.
Yeah.
There's another about 4 million families that want to move to get into better school districts or their job changed or what have you. Okay.
Mhm.
That's about 9 million people that move in any given year. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Normal
Yeah.
year, no craziness happening.
Yeah.
You've basically in that let's say if we use that 15 million number. Okay, and that occurred over 4 years.
Mhm.
So you've basically increased the number of people looking for housing by 50%.
Right. Right.
And not only are you not only have you not, and you haven't built any new housing
Right.
as planning for these people to arrive. So your
Right.
supply is getting hammered for
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah.
And so that's another reason why you've seen it go up. And so in capitalism, there's this phrase, the cure for high prices is high prices,
Yeah.
which means that as that rent price went up, that's a signal to the market to build more housing. And in certain
Okay.
cities, Austin,
Yeah.
Nashville, a lot across the Sun Belt, developers responded by
Uh-huh.
building more housing.
Yeah.
And and we'll take Austin as an example. They did that drastically.
Yeah.
Um, but now you're seeing the removal of those 10 to 15 million people who came, uh,
Okay.
about as from the numbers I'm seeing right now, about 15% of them so far have decided to go home or deported
Okay.
or whatever their situation was.
Okay.
So that demand is starting to decrease.
Mhm.
And yeah, and the prices were driven up so high that a lot of the people who are living in Austin are having trouble affording those.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So people are creating more roommate situations. People are staying home with their parents longer. All of that is happening too.
Hmm.
So the demand is coming down at the same time the supply is spiking.
Yeah.
So the costs are starting to come down, which is great. You should still negotiate it,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
because you don't want to be paying more than you have to.
Hmm.
But that kind of big picture, big macro picture, that's kind of what's going on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I I see a lot of those same problems in New York City right now. They're having a hell of a time out there. But
Yeah, yeah. I fail to see how. So New York City is famous for having rent control,
yeah.
and the newly elected mayor is telling landlords, well, you have to fix your properties and make sure everything's livable and up to snuff and all of this. Well, if you're not getting the revenue to cover the maintenance,
Yeah.
then there's no way to maintain the building. And then his big solution is for the city to take over the building if they don't maintain it,
Okay.
which I don't see how that's going to work because if the
Yeah.
money's not there, the money's not there.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
matter who owns it.
Yeah.
Uh, so there's this disconnect between how housing actually works
Hmm.
and how people think housing actually works.
Right. Yeah.
And which is another reason why I wrote the book. It's like give people some insight behind what's going on. Just
Yeah.
because you may own a property, that doesn't mean you're independently wealthy sipping Mai Tais in the Caribbean.
Right. Right.
Those two things don't necessarily go together.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this yeah, it's just interesting to hear all the things that go into it that you really never think about. And
Mhm.
throughout all this, I was kind of comparing different places that I've lived, and more rural areas are much more affordable, but you're going to have a lot less resources, maybe a lot less I guess landlords might be not be checking up on the on how your property's
Well,
looking as often. And
it's interesting because so let's take somebody who's just graduated from college
mhm,
and they've got, 2 or 3 job offers they're looking at, and they're in different parts of the country.
yeah,
So they're looking at, salary and which city is cooler to live in and,
right,
all of those things.
right.
What they're not thinking about is which of those states has has state income tax.
Mhm,
What are the differences in sales taxes between these different areas? Because
yeah,
and some cities have income tax, like New York City has income tax.
yeah,
Um, and so thinking about the geography of where they want to be,
mhm,
and how that's going to affect their finances,
yeah,
and how that's going to affect the rent that they're going to pay.
right,
Um, Most people aren't thinking, because I know when I was in my 20s and I'm looking at I wasn't thinking about that.
right,
It was
right.
way more important to live in a cool city than
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
than all this other stuff that sounds so boring.
yeah,
Um, but it's important because the money you have left over at the end of the month helps determine whether you get to indulge in those cool things that the city has to offer or
yeah,
not. Do I need to live in the
yeah,
city or do I just need to set myself up so I can visit when I want to?
yep, yeah,
Um, and the other element that's kind of turned a lot of this on their head is people can actually work from home. So, and
yeah,
we got a front row seat to this during COVID.
right,
So, if I can work from home, why do I need to pay this exorbitant amount to live in the center of this city so I can walk to the subway so I can get to work, within a
right,
reasonable amount of time?
right,
I can be anywhere.
yeah,
And if I can be anywhere, let's be somewhere that's actually affordable so I can keep some of the money that I earn so I can take advantage of the opportunities that life
yeah,
has in store for me.
yeah,
So that's something that's still working itself out, and to be honest, it hasn't though. My
Yeah.
background is on the residential side, but when you look at the commercial side in terms of vacancy, there's still huge vacancy going on the commercial
Uh,
side in terms of office space because people still, in a lot of cases, haven't come back to work.
right. Right.
So, and that's a whole nother kettle of fish. In fact, there is a now kind of growing interest in converting commercial office property into residential. I
Right.
mean, it's already
Yeah.
got the electricity's already there. It's already got plumbing. There's
Yeah.
some changes that need to be made, but the bare bones is kind of there to do some kind of conversion. Um, so that's becoming an area that developers are looking at
Yeah.
as the values of those commercial buildings come down because they're not occupied. It opens up some possibilities. So just like the cure for high prices is high prices, the cure for low prices is low prices too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that makes complete sense that they would do that. Our the city I work in, so I'm in a small town outside of a city, and, we had a giant mall, and they're in the
Hmm.
process of tearing it down and rebuilding the whole area into, like, a housing
Hmm.
apartment development area, but
Yeah.
yeah. Wait, so you were describing the, cost of living in versus livelihood basically, and it was just
Hmm.
really resonating with me because when I lived in Austin, "Oh, that's great. I'm here. I can drive around and look at stuff. I can't afford to do anything." And
Right.
then I moved out to Bastrop. I don't know if you know
Hmm.
that area very well, but it only took me 10 more minutes to get to work in Austin because of less traffic on that highway at the time. It's changed so much because
Right.
my brother lives so I moved back to Iowa, and then my brother moved to Texas, so he's in the,
Hmm.
like, Dripping Springs area. So I'm still in Texas, every year. But anyways, I move only a 10-minute further drive basically um, from work, and I've got more space. I've got
Hmm.
a carport. I've got an extra
Hmm.
bedroom, and I have money to
Yeah.
actually do stuff
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's insane.
One of the basic theories of real estate economics is the closer you are to the employment center, the more expensive your housing is going to be, and the further
Mhm.
away, the less expensive.
Yeah,
And the way the theory goes is the difference in the value of the two homes is going to be the transportation costs
yeah,
in theory. Um,
yeah,
it doesn't work directly like that because there's the aggravation of having to commute and all of that. There's some
right.
other factors in there.
Yeah,
Um, but that's the basic premise. The further out you go, the less
yeah,
expensive housing it's going to be. And it's interesting because the kind of in political circles now, there's this the
uh,
affordability is the buzzword.
right,
Um,
right.
and so there have been some proposals floated, nothing
Mhm.
official. Um, but one of the proposals floated has been opening up federal land for construction,
Right. I did hear that, yeah.
which which is interesting. But just because you build houses, that doesn't make it a city. That doesn't
Right.
it doesn't add employment. It doesn't add what is kind of known as third places. So your
Mhm.
first place is your home. Second place is your school or job or your
Okay,
employment.
okay,
Third place is the places that you hang out. The
okay.
bars, the restaurants, the libraries, the coffee shops, the
Mhm.
stores, the things that enhance life and where you're
Yeah,
interacting with other people in your community and all of that. Um,
yeah.
so really you're talking about building entirely new cities on federal land to make that work.
Right.
So it's a much longer term project than just, oh,
Yeah.
we're going to come out here in the desert and we're going to build some cities and everybody's going to move in and it's going to be great.
Right.
Um,
Right.
there's this whole ecosystem that has to come along with it.
Yeah.
Um, So So yeah, it's a but on a related note, there are some towns and cities across the country. Well, actually, let me back up. So historically, we've had this demographic trend where people are leaving the rural areas and headed to the cities,
Mhm.
and that's been going on for decades.
Yeah.
Some of those areas have lost so much population that they are offering money for people to move back.
Oh my gosh.
Like, we have housing, we may not have employment, but if you get kinda getting back to this trend of, working from home, if
Yeah.
you can earn over the internet, like, you don't necessarily need to live in that big expensive city, you
Right.
know, come back, move here, we'll pay. I mean, some of them is like 2,000, 8,000. There's different offers. And I was thinking about it this way, instead of, or maybe along with opening up federal land, like some of this investment that other countries are supposedly have made deals to, but if some of that investment can come to some of these areas and actually create jobs there, and they're
Right.
also offering incentives for people to move back, combine those things, and now some of these areas can be turned back into those vibrant economic centers that they once were, or at
Right.
least start down that path again.
Yeah.
um there are some interesting kind of housing affordability things that are being floated out there. Um, and we'll just see what has
Yeah.
kind of political support and what makes sense
Mhm.
economically to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard both good and bad things about everything that's been floated, so it's like, I don't know enough to judge what's
Yeah,
gonna happen
yeah.
at this
And the thing
point.
about it is there's no silver bullet. Like, it's all
Mhm.
trade-offs.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, if you want to open up federal land for housing, that's great. But the trade-off is it's a much longer term
Mhm.
project, and then the level of investment is higher.
Right. Right.
Whereas if you kind of direct those resources into some of these towns that are already in place that are looking for people to move in,
Mhm.
then it can happen in a much shorter term. But
Yeah.
now you're looking at directing investment away from larger cities to smaller areas. You may not have as large of an employment pool, like, so there are always
Yeah.
trade-offs.
Right.
Um, the question is which trade-offs can we live with?
Right.
But
Yep.
at least we're having these discussions because we weren't having them before, not really.
Right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and for those politicians who might be listening, yeah, my book is kind of focused on the people part of that.
Okay.
Because there's a level of kind of in capitalism, there's a level of personal responsibility, and that's where
Mhm.
this negotiation piece comes in.
Yeah.
So you can't kind of just expect savings to fall like manna from heaven. You actually have to ask for it and know how to ask
Right.
for it in the right way.
Right. Do you have a copy of your book next to you?
I do.
Okay. I yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So the name of the book is Rental Secrets, and basically it teaches renters to talk to landlords in their own language so they can negotiate on their
Yes.
own behalf and know what levers to pull that are important to landlords, so they can actually
Yeah.
have that conversation in a meaningful way and not come across as just whining, but
Right.
come across as an actual partner of the landlord, and
Yeah.
and tell the landlord, "These are the ways that I can help you solve your problems, and in exchange, I'd like to have lower rent or
Yeah.
a better parking space."
Yeah. 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 I think that your book could be beneficial to a lot I mean, any renter, a lot of
Yeah,
people.
and
So
and actually, parents of adult children who would like to have their basements back.
yes. Hey, that's a really good gift. Little Easter gift, birthday gift.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a fun idea. So, is there anything else you'd like the audience to know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you can also find some resources at my website,
Mhm.
rentalsecrets.net.
Okay.
And I also post tips for renters on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn.
Okay. Perfect. I'll make sure to include those in the show notes, and I have the link to your book right now that I can throw on there too. And
Okay.
yeah, awesome. Sounds good.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I want to thank you for being here today. And yeah, this is just one of those fun, kind of a random topic that I thought would be beneficial to my listeners. So
Yeah,
I,
and I mean, regardless of who you are, what like walk of life you're in, you need some place to live, some place to lay your head. That's your sanctuary, kind of away
yeah,
from the world. So
yeah,
if we can do
everyone.
that, yeah, and if we can do that a little less expensively, let's do that.
Yeah, absolutely.